Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rachak Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And this lesson is, going to be around the title of "This is why you listen," or "This is why you should listen," and really trust in the Lord, because I was scrolling through a couple of articles, and then I came across one which is entitled "FDA no longer recommends the CV or the Vanessa for healthy babies," and this is just another update or step in the direction of pretty much things so-called going back to normal, right? And when you think back, some people may have forgotten or don't think about it as much, but when you think back to 3, 4, right, or about 5 years ago, when this thing was like, it's crazy how it's already been 5 years. Wow. When this thing was hot and popping in the news, you had a lot of people that were of divided opinions, a lot of emotions and tensions in the air. Pretty much the world came to a standstill, and people were unsure. They were afraid. And you had a lot of people asking questions, right? A lot of people asking, well, what do we do? Do we agree? Do we consent onto them, or do we not? And what about my job? Or what about this? And we told you the same thing, right? We told you, hey, put your trust in the Lord and let the Lord take care of you. He'll deliver you. We did videos exhorting the believers and those that would listen to just trust in the Lord and let him order your way aright. And that in itself was a test, which a lot of people failed. And I'm sure there's people who went and secretly consented and acted as though everything is all sweet, but the Lord knows. And the main failure, if you exclude the physical actions that were taken, is what spiritual state or state of mind you were in to have to do that. And a lot of it was induced through fear or not wanting to be uncomfortable, because they really started to get a lot of people when they started introducing the restrictions and the mandates, right? And telling you, if you don't do this, then this. If you don't do that, then this. Because you had people that had their thoughts and their skepticism about the actual danger of it. But a lot of people, if you ask them today, yo, did you consent? And you know what I mean by that. And they'll say, yeah, I did. How many times? I did once, twice. Some will say once. Some will say I got the whole thing. But then you ask them why, and they'll say, oh, like I didn't really have an option because in my job, I couldn't go to work or I couldn't go to school if I didn't consent. So I had to do X, Y, and Z. But here we are, 2025, and you can walk into a hospital. You can walk into a nursing home. You can walk into a clinic, no masks, no 6 feet, nothing, no face shields, no temperature checks, none of that. Right? At these stores, like the world is open back up again. And now, if you were to go back in time, right, from 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, up until 2025, now there's a difference. You have people that are walking around that basically had their resolve tested and broken, ended up consenting. And then you have those that didn't. And those that didn't are better off, especially those that didn't for the reason of trusting in the Lord. Because you've leveled up in the spirit, and you showed the Lord, at least even on that level, that, hey, when push comes to shove, I'm going to trust in the Lord. Now your mind and your spirit it's registered. So it's not the first time. You've done it before. Should something similar or something else come your way, not only can you put your trust in the Lord, and not only do you know the feeling and the experience of that, but also the full understanding of what happens when you keep your trust in the Lord and when you listen. And it was pretty apparent, right? Time and time again, evidence was showing why you should just listen. But people started to move in haste, and now almost like it was all for nothing. Had you just waited a little bit, you would have been fine. The Lord would have provided you a way out. So let me start off here. This is the book of Psalms chapter 9, verse 9. The Lord Yahweh also will be a refuge for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. And not just a refuge for the oppressed in general, because you have a lot of people that are oppressed. Right now, the number one oppressor is Esau, Edom, and they're oppressing not just Israelites, they're oppressing even these heathen nations. But the Lord is not going to be a refuge, per se, onto the heathens. So the oppressed here are the oppressed that seek the Lord in spirit and in truth. And the only ones who can sincerely do that, in which the Lord will acknowledge, are the Israelites, and in particular the elect, because they're the ones who are going to seek him in sincerity and in truth. And so he would be a refuge or a shelter for them in times of trouble, similar to what is written in Proverbs, I believe it's 18 and 10, that the name of the Lord is a strong tower, the righteous runneth into it and are safe. So whenever trouble comes, we know that we can call on the name of the Lord and just trust in the Lord. And just as he got us out of that situation and previous ones and any other things he's delivered you from, he'll deliver us from anything else to come. So it's not going to be anything new, per se. Verse 10, and they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord Yahweh, has not forsaken them that seek thee. So it makes sense why you have a lot of people that decide not to call on the true names of the Heavenly Father and His Son. They don't really put their trust in the Lord. And you can see that by their actions and by their fruits, the fruit of their ways. However, as it reads here in the 10th verse, they that know thy name will put their trust in thee. For thou, Lord, hast not forsaken them that seek thee. And that's why we constantly seek the Lord. And let me actually pull up this precept that I quoted, but in Sirach, the 2nd chapter, it goes into that. Right? Look at the generations of old and see, did ever any trust in the Lord and was forsaken? And the answer is no. This is Proverbs chapter 18, verse 10. The name of the Lord Yahweh is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. See? And don't think that, it's been years now and everything is good, we're back to normal. To the Lord, this is like, it's literally, the time difference is so quick. So, to the Lord, you literally just failed a big test. He was able to see in that moment who trusts in him and who doesn't. And that wasn't even the hour of temptation yet. So if you're not willing to put your trust in the Lord for something like your job, or some people even just did it just for the ability to travel. I want to go on vacation. I want to travel. I want to go to here and here. And they said I can't go if I don't. Hey, so you had people seeking to save their life, quote unquote, as the scriptures say. And in the time that's coming up, they're going to lose it, because if they couldn't put their trust in the Lord for their job, like I was mentioning before, or for their way of living, or for that, whatever that case was, how are you going to then put your life in the hands of the Lord? How are you going to say, you know what? They're saying they're going to delete me if I don't do X, Y, and Z, or if I do continue to do X, Y, and Z, but I'm going to trust in the Lord and do it anyway. You couldn't trust in the Lord over this thing. So how much more a more extreme matter? And the Lord, as we read in the book of Psalms, the 9th chapter, he's going to come through for those that seek him. So I'm going to read this again. This is Proverbs 18 and 10. The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous runneth into it and is safe. And the spirit of the righteous are going to run into the name of the Lord, right? We're going to seek the Lord knowing these times that are coming. and also not making haste in time of trouble. That was an example. You had people that made haste in time of trouble because they thought, well, you know, if I don't comply with Esau's measures, then there's no other way out for me. Right? A lot of them, it didn't even occur into their minds that the Most High is who controls Esau and his measures and his laws and all of those things. And he's the same one who controls everything that happens in your life. So is it really that difficult for the Lord to provide you an alternative way other than what your oppressor is telling you is the alternative way? If your oppressor is telling you the only way out is to go through here, and the Most High controls your oppressor, is it really that hard to believe that the Lord can give you another way out? This is Isaiah chapter 59, verse 1. Behold, the Lord's hand is not shortened, that it cannot save, neither his ear heavy, that it cannot hear. See? So it's not that the Lord, he's incapable of saving you, right? Because he doesn't have the ability, or he's weak, or he just can't hear you crying for help because he's gone deaf or his ears are heavy. But as it says, verse 2, but your iniquities have separated between you and your God, and your sins have hid his face from you, that he will not hear. And that's what's going to happen to a lot of people coming up, and it's not going to be a fun time. See, I'm not going to sit here and make it sound like the experience of that time was the sweetest thing in the world. I mean, there were certain parts of it that, hey, at least it was less of that demonic activity running around. You know what I mean by that? People were finally in their houses instead of being demons out in the streets. But in terms of the hardships that it brought upon people, the uncomfortability, that's a taste of reality. Okay, that's how real life is when things get difficult. But in order to survive what's coming, as it mentions in Isaiah the 30th chapter, you have to be willing. You can't say, oh, when the time comes, man, I'm willing to put my life down for the Lord. And then a test that is but even a fraction of putting your life down for the Lord comes your way, and then you fold. You say, oh, I ain't going to do it. I ain't going to do it. And then you turn around and say, he's the enemy, but take it anyway. You turn around and say, I'm not asking any questions. I'm rolling up my sleeve and I'm stretching out my arms, and then go ahead. That's not walking by faith, and that's certainly not trusting in the Lord. But anyway, I think I'm going to end it here. The point was, as I saw the title of that article, it just came to my mind, just reminded me how really for a lot of people, all you had to do was just listen, because what we told you about how the Lord would make a way, it came to pass. He made a way for us. And we didn't have to bow down to the way that Esau put before us, saying this was the only way. The Lord made a way for us. And all we had to do is just keep trusting him and say, well, until the Lord gives us a way out, we'll just stay here. We're not gonna succumb to what Esau says is the way out. When you're dealing with the devil, you can't trust what the devil says. And the word devil meaning a deceiver. So at the end of the day, had you listened and trusted in the Lord, you wouldn't be walking around with a foreign substance inside you, not knowing what it's doing, if it's doing anything, because it could, for all you know, you could be having subtle changes. Maybe, you're developing, certain discomforts in the body that you may think just randomly came about, allergies that you never had, some weird shit. And you're not really sure how to tie that in or connect the pieces together because it sounds so sparse and arbitrary. Well, that's what happens when you don't trust in the Lord. So I say that to say that in closing, harder times are coming, more difficult times are coming, times when you actually might have to put your actual life or risk your actual life, with your heart racing and it's uncomfortable and you're afraid. But if you're able to put your trust in the Lord, then you're gonna be all right. So with that, I'm gonna end it here. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rachak Wadash. Until next time, Shalom.